Sometimes say, why isn't the president more like LBJ? Why doesn't he grab them by the lapels and get this done and get more specific and enforce these deadlines?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that we've been very specific. LBJ didn't have the Congressional Budget Office, just to give you one example of how complicated the process in Washington has become. Essentially, Harry Reid was ready with a Senate bill several weeks ago, but it has taken this long for the Congressional Budget Office to present its best estimates of how much this is going to cost, how many savings will be obtained, what kind of savings will be obtained from the legislation. So there are just a lot of procedural hurdles that explain why health care hasn't been dealt with in 40, 50, 70 years. But I remain confident that we are going to get this done, and we're going to have a bill that reduces our deficit, bends the cost curve, covers millions of people who don't have health insurance right now, and for people who do have health insurance, makes their insurance more secure. I'm absolutely confident that we're going to get that done.
On the economy, we received a lot of questions from CNN iReporters who went to our website. They wanted to ask you a question directly. This one is from Guy Watson in Albuquerque, who says he's a disappointed Obama voter, and here's why. He asks, why have you chosen to give our tax money to the banks without holding them responsible or forcing them to lower their rates for startups and to facilitate refinancing of foreclosed homes? You hear that a lot.
I do. And I think it's important to understand, first of all, that the so-called bank bailout started before we came in. I actually think it was the right thing to do in a crisis. We had to make sure that you did not have a complete meltdown, which would have been even worse. And I've said in the past, I supported President Bush's decision to move forward on that. Once we got them in a place where they were no longer in crisis, the problem was things were put together so quickly last year that there weren't as many strings attached as we would have liked. And so what we've tried to do is to create some structures after the fact that would impose more accountability, more discipline. The most obvious example would be the rules on executive pay. But it's always hard to do, particularly when a lot of these banks now got well and then just paid the money back. And so we now no longer have leverage. This is why I think it's so important moving forward to make sure that we've got a financial regulatory framework that protects consumers, makes sure that they're not getting gouged, makes sure that there's a lot of clarity in terms of mortgages that they're getting. In the meantime, just on an emergency basis, we're trying to do everything we can to poke, prod, incentivize banks to help responsible homeowners who, through no fault of their own, are finding it very tough for them to pay for their mortgage, to make sure that businesses are getting loans. And we've massively expanded small business lending through the SBA. Those are all steps that we're taking. But look, I understand people's frustrations. I mean, the American people have gone through a very tough year. And my job as president is to help navigate through this tough year. And people who don't have a job right now, people who have lost their home, I'd be mad too. And they expect me to do something about it. And my job is to, within the institutional constraints that I have and the resource constraints that we have, because we also inherited a structural deficit of several $1 trillion, to try to make the best decisions possible to help as many people as possible.
Covered a lot of substance. Let's end on a very short political question. Sarah Palin's got a new book out. Right. You think she'll be a candidate in 2012, and will you be a candidate in 2012?
I don't think about 2012 right now. I think about next week. But look, obviously, Sarah Palin's attracted a lot of attention. She is going to do very well with this book. That's clear. And
you going to read it?
I probably won't. But I don't get a chance to read things other than briefing books very often these days anyway. She obviously has a big constituency in the Republican Party. There are a lot of people who are excited by her. And, I do think it says something about our political process, though, that about 10 months after
we're already talking about it.
We're already talking about it.
But can you envision a scenario where you don't run for re-election?
Here's how I think about it. I said to myself very early on, even when I started running for office, that I don't want to be making decisions based on getting reelected, because I think the challenges that America faces right now are so significant. Obviously, if I make good decisions, and I think that I'm moving the country on the right direction economically in terms of our security interests and our foreign policy, I'd like to think that those policies are continued, because they're not going to bear fruit just in 4 years. I mean, we will have to take a lot of time to get a clean energy economy. It's going to require a lot of effort. Reforming our education system is going to take a lot of time. I think we're putting the foundations in place for that kind of long-term growth. But if I feel like I've made the very best decisions for the American people, and 3 years from now I look at it and my poll numbers are in the tank, and because we've gone through these wrenching changes, politically I'm in a tough spot, I'll feel all right about myself. I'd feel a lot worse if at a time of such urgency for the American people, I was spending a lot of time thinking, how can I position myself to ensure reelection? Because if I were doing that right now, I wouldn't have taken on health care. I wouldn't be taking on things that are unpopular. I wouldn't be closing Guantanamo. There are a whole series of choices that I'm making that I know are going to create some political turbulence, but I think they're the right thing to do. And history will bear out my theories or not.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.